Another facet of Ignatius that's just so extremely important to so many guys and so many fans of Ignatius is that aspect of sports. And, obviously it's a huge part of our community, going out to games. If you're not an athlete, those are some of the memories that, are always, I'm very fond of, going to football games, going to soccer games, things like that. Um, those are things that I'll always remember, and it is very devastating for the spring sports athletes too. That after all this time, their senior year, they had to have their last season canceled because of this pandemic, and so obviously that's very devastating for them.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on about um, sports being something like so big, right, at our school. But I would say it's what I'm hoping to find out is, I mean, what we both know is that sports and the athletic programs at St. Ignatius aren't just about this success and all of these state titles and national titles even, and it's something very embedded in our culture, I think, as a school. But there's a reason for that, right? So I'm hoping some of the guys can talk us through that. It's the brotherhood, it's the faith, it's the tradition. And I mean, you said it well. Guys work super hard at our school, and it's very admirable. And just 4 years in the weight room, on the practice field during the off season, every day after school, and then so there's so many leaders on and off the field or the court in our at St. Ignatius that we see every day, and it's so widespread across the student body. So I'm really excited to hear about the really great memories that have come from all these sports from the past few years as fans, as players, as broadcasters, and also just learn about really what I said before, just what makes St. Ignatius so special and successful in that aspect. And I think it's something very different than what you would hear at other schools.
Yeah, definitely. I just wanted to get your thoughts and reflections on how the closure affected you, and just your reflections on, your disappointment with the cancellation of the baseball season and things like that.
It was definitely disappointing, but I don't know. You just try and stay positive and understand that there are a lot of more important things going on right now. That baseball has to take a step to the side. It is what it is. So
Yeah, for sure it's been really hard on, I mean, spring sport athletes for sure, but I would just say more of the entire senior class as a whole. I feel like everyone kind of gets overlooked when everyone's kind of like looking in on things, be like, oh, it sucks for the spring sport athletes, but it's mainly just for me, like obviously I would love to play baseball this spring, try to defend our state title, but it's more to me than that.
A little disappointed with the news recently with our last season being canceled, but that's all right. Things happen. Got to get around it.
Yeah, so one thing that my parents have been saying a lot during this quarantine was how lucky we are that we were able to get our season in. Because I'll never forget the last day of school, we were sitting in stats class when the hockey guys got the news that their state tournament was canceled, and they were heartbroken. And that's not something I would wish on my worst enemy, having to end your season when you're 2 games away from a state championship.
immediately, honestly, the first thing everyone did, we all texted each other. A lot of the seniors from last year texted us, let us know they were thinking of us. Coach Gaynor, some of my other friends. So I think that just kind of shows a lot, though, like right there in that moment of when your whole season gets canceled and everything's kind of over. That's when I think we really showed we were there for each other.
Not even get to defend your state championship if you're the baseball team, which, side note, was one of my top memories in high school, being at that state championship game. And I would have done anything to watch them play another season.
But not being able to see everyone is really the worst part for me, more than, like, obviously, like, missing baseball. I am a lot, but I'd rather like be able to go to school and see my best friends for the last couple months we had together.
I mean, I've talked to some of the guys so far, and general consensus is that it's not necessarily about the winning or the season, but it is the team, like you said. And a lot of the guys have just said, like, they'd give anything just to get one more at bat or pitch one more inning or just to get that closure as a senior. So obviously, yeah, it's a very tough situation.
So freshman year, I started with tennis. I was on JV freshman year.
My biggest thing was definitely baseball. On the baseball team for 4 years, varsity the last 2.
Declined the offer to play varsity basketball my sophomore year. And I stuck to baseball, and I eventually earned a starting spot at shortstop.
Worked pretty hard, got up to varsity for sophomore year, and then continued throughout the rest of Ignatius as that.
Starting out when I was a freshman, though, I played football. Actually, I was a quarterback freshman year, and then a little bit JV year, and then I was done playing football.
And then baseball junior year was amazing, like the best team I've been a part of in my life. It was obviously we were very talented, but I feel like it was our unity and like how close we were as a team that made us how great we really were.
I did a little bit of SIBM this past year, called the varsity football games with Jack O'Rourke. That was a good time. And then mainly pitch for the baseball team now. That's definitely my main thing.
Yes.
And then senior year, voted captain for football. Obviously things didn't go the way we wanted to, but it was still a great, like I compare this football season to last year's baseball team and like a similarity of relationships and unity. It was just how close we were and how much like fun we had together regardless of outcome.
And obviously, you did come out on top as national champions and state champions a few months ago. But what would you say has been like your most impactful sports experience or like favorite sports experience? I mean, it's probably hard to beat your last one, but
especially during the baseball season last year, it was that 1 week we played like Benedictine, St. V's, Walsh, and we lost like 4 or 5 games in a row.
I would have to say just like the entire team dynamic, just hanging out with the guys. We all have the common interest of tennis, which is pretty cool, but we found a lot of other really cool interests to build our friendships upon.
And that was like right when we were like on a tear before that. And then we just lost like those 4 or 5 games, and everyone at school was kind of just like, oh, what's going on with you guys? Like, are you guys like, I thought you guys were going to the winning championship and stuff. And it was just like,
and it's really just like a good team dynamic, a good family away from my original family. And it's just a lot of fun to be on. So I'll have to say the guys is my favorite part.
It was just like a setback for us, but because I really think it was because of how close we were that we were able to fight back from that adversity. And that's ultimately what led us to winning the state championship in June.
I think I got to say winning the state championship last year.
I mean
there's a lot of really good ones and a lot of things that stick out, but probably nothing more than that. Definitely loved going to Florida last year, getting to pitch in different games. But
I think the most impactful ones were the 2, my junior, my sophomore year, when we lost to Medina, and we had the same team, basically the same team. We had 15 seniors this year who lost those back-to-back state semis, and I think if one of those had maybe gone our way, we wouldn't have had as much fuel to dominate them like we did this year.
Nothing beats winning that state championship last year, so I got to put that at the top of the list.
Yeah, technically back-to-back champs now, right?
Yeah. Hey, if there's no new crown champ, I think we just like fill in the pound for this year. I think that's how that works.
One question that I wanted to ask you is, how do you think that your participation in sports at Saint Ignatius has kind of shaped you as a person and will help you down the road, whether it be in college or the career that you seek out?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me that sports has taught me, specifically in high school, is just being ready for change. I mean, things don't always go your way. Dealing with adversity, things don't always, go as planned, as we're seeing right now. I don't think anybody thought we were going to be doing this.
Going into St. Ignatius, I only knew probably 5 kids. So I wasn't really familiar with the crowd, and it was kind of hard to just like come in and like make a name for yourself, I guess. Because I didn't have any family go to Ignatius either. So I was just kind of the first person to experience with it.
Playing football, I had that bad concussion, and that was the end of football. And even last year, 2 of my best games, I think, were pitching against Calvary Christian, where I started the game in right field. Wasn't supposed to pitch, but me to pitch, so I came out. And then the state semifinal, I was sitting on my butt, told to get ready for Sunday, and then next thing I knew, I was playing right field. Next thing I knew, I was pitching. So
my favorite thing about sports is, like, when I'm playing, is just being with my friends and making friendships. And I think not just through Ignatius, but like through different kind of tournaments or showcases, I've made so many friends through soccer around the country, who some of them will go on to play professionally and do great things. And
so I'd say going into like my college career next year, just going with an open mind. I'm so thankful for Ignatius, how you can just go in and it's so like welcoming, and you take all the tradition that is given, and you just go from it, and you just do your own thing, kind of. I hope college is like that. I just try to go in with an open mind, enjoy what's thrown at me, try to deal with the adversity, make good relationships with my teammates and coaches, and try to live up to the experience that I've had at St. Ignatius.
I'll have a lot of references and people who I can reach out to for help. And I think even more so, that is those relationships are ones that I formed with the coaches, especially Mr. Brennan. Mr. Brennan, I had him as a teacher 3 semesters and then as a coach for 4 years. And I think if my dad wasn't at the school, he would be the guy I would always go to if I needed anything. And I'm lucky I got to be around him for not only 4 years, but my whole life, because him and my dad have been best friends and coaches together. But I think relationships like that is why I love sports.
Things don't always go as they're supposed to or as they're planned, but you got to be ready to battle some adversity, and things are going to change, not going to go your way. And that's definitely true for life as well. So learning how to deal with that, I think, is the biggest thing I'll take out of everything.
What's it like being like a true student athlete? Is it difficult to balance even at Ignatius? Or
Yeah, I'd say like student athletes, I give them a lot of respect, because like the tennis season's kind of short in general. It's like a month and a half. But I know a lot of guys are like 2 or 3 sport athletes, or they're doing crew like year round. And I really like applaud those guys, since I know how hard it could be, just like practices, running late, getting home late, still having to do homework.
I think that's really just time management and staying in the moment. Like when I'm out there pitching, I'm not concerned about my math homework, or when I'm taking a calc test, I'm not thinking about the game I'm going to pitch later. Like, you just have to focus on what you're doing in every situation, as opposed to, if you try and think of the 5 things you're doing at once, you're going to go nuts.
I'd say my freshman year was definitely the hardest.
So I found like the best thing to help me, especially during tennis season when I get super busy, is just like, you got to have good relationships with your teachers, like show them respect all throughout the year.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think the number one thing is time management. You just gotta know when you're gonna be busy, when you can afford to take a late night of homework, and when you gotta just grind it out and stay up late, because you got say those weekends we're going to Cincinnati. That's going to be a busy weekend, so you're going to get some work done on Thursday or Friday.
After a semester with Pelka and Arco and playing varsity soccer, I realized you really had to manage your time.
They understand that, like, you're busy, you have a lot of things to do, but overall, you just got to show them respect, the respect they deserve, and put in the hard work year round.
Years went on, I scheduled my classes more responsibly. I knew which classes would load me with work, and I would even schedule them in the semesters like that I wasn't playing soccer if it was like an elective. But it was all about time management and knowing how much I can handle.
You're serving a funeral, and you're taking a test, you're taking that test, and when you're playing a game, you're playing the game, and that's stay in the moment and focus on what's in front of you.
So I was wondering, what is your take on what makes our sports teams so successful?
This is like my personal experience, just seeing how it affected the tennis program, but I see it in all of the sports here at Ignatius. And it's just one thing Ignatius has is just really good role models. So it's a good building cycle effect.
I think it's just the bonds and the relationships that the teams have, and I think that's the same across all the sports. Like
where freshmen come in, they see the upperclassmen working super hard. They see the upperclassmen with specific goals, and then the freshmen follow them and start doing that. And by the time the freshmen are upperclassmen, they've established a really strong work ethic and a really strong set of goals. And then the new freshmen are experiencing that.
I have some really good friends from public schools around the city and St. Ed's, other private schools, and they talk about how by the end of their season, they're fighting at practice, they're not getting along, they're doing everything for themselves. But I think in our case, we would do anything to see our teammates and our brothers succeed. That and that's not something you see at other schools.
Overall, it's the hard work ethic that people put in, and then younger people see that and they carry that on.
I'll steal a page right out of Coach Kyle's book. I know his quote, "To say faith, nothing has to do with it," is absurd. I think that's a huge part. With every team, no matter the level, no matter the sport, guys just trust each other. They trust their coaches. They have faith in one another and what they can do.
Yeah, obviously, like playing sports at St. Ignatius means a lot. Like all the alumni and like fans of Ignatius expect great things out of the sports programs, but playing sports here really means more than just the sports. It's building relationships with your classmates that you're really like unfamiliar with. It's building relationships with coaches.
I mean, it's a brotherhood here. I mean, I think you guys know that for sure. So more than anything else, guys aren't playing for themselves. They're playing for the name on the front of their jersey, and they're playing for the guys they're playing with more than anything else. And
the coaches here are amazing, top notch. I can't thank them enough for what they've taught me throughout these past 4 years. It's about life lessons that you learned.
I know that was the case for us last year. We wanted to win for each other. We wanted it not even for ourselves. And I think that's definitely true across all sports. And I think that really makes a huge difference.
Really, it's just more than the game in the matter of sports at St. Ignatius. Obviously, we compete to the highest level. But it's more than just sports. It's building yourself into a man and learning how to deal with adversity and learning how to build relationships with people that you're not really familiar with and learning how to trust people.